Welcome, everybody. Welcome. We are 2 minutes late, and that's okay. My name is Via Williams with Kinney Companies, and I have got my two lovely guests with me today, Diane Griffin and Adelina Rotar, and we're going to get to that right away. Today is a really exciting topic for me, and it's one of those topics that's not necessarily tactical, right? I know that sometimes people get really excited about how to get 100 leads a day and how to get 5 listings, a week. This is one of those topics that's arguably just as important, if not, more important, and it doesn't always get the attention it deserves. And that is on the fact that all of us in real estate have to think like a business owner. All of us have to learn the fundamentals of business because we are running businesses. Otherwise, we're always going to have jobs, and we're always going to be, essentially salespeople with a job. And even if you're an individual agent, this is an important topic for you today. And I urge you to watch because there's fundamentals of business that's going to help you build a predictable and stable income. That's really important. Those are two really important words. You can be a commission income real estate agent and have a predictable and stable business, right? And that's by learning the business fundamentals. So it's a really important topic today. And before we dive in, and I'm going to introduce our two panelists, next week is also an important topic because next week is the listing presentation. I am going to do a straight ahead role play with Ryan Gregg, and he's going to do the new, updated, and revised Ben Kinney listing presentation. And we're just going to do the whole thing in role play. I think it's a rare opportunity for everybody to just watch a listing presentation in action. I'm going to act like a seller, and we're just going to kind of go into it and stay in character, so to speak, right? And then after he's done delivering that, we'll open it up for Q&A. So I think that's going to be really, really useful. After that, Laura Jalot is in Lebanon, Oregon, which is a really small town, and she is the queen. Her team is the queen of database marketing, having a database business, communicating to their database, everything database. And we are in a database world, right? That is the world we're in right now. All of us need to strengthen our database with our teams. So we've got Laura Jalot and her marketing specialist. We have about 4 or 5 people from Laura and her team on the next Wednesday. You will not want to miss that. That's going to be one of those really tactical ones where you're going to be taking notes, and we're going to be giving sources and items of value, and you literally don't want to miss that. I don't think you should miss any of these though. Anyway. And here we are today with my two lovely guests. I feel like I say this all the time, but I also feel like I need to give a disclaimer. We have 2 of my besties on here. I'm always saying that like every week. I have like 50 best friends, but no, that's not true. But I'm very, very close friends and know these women very well. And I want to start with Adelina Rotar because Adelina, you're on my screen, you're right in front of me. Adelina and I have been on the same group chat since 2012 that has been running solid for almost 10 years. We know each other's families. We've traveled together. We've dated each other. We are very, very close friends. And I have been involved with Adelina, literally involved behind the scenes, behind the curtain, so to speak, watching her evolve from a real estate salesperson to an incredibly talented businesswoman. Adelina launched the first Ben Kinney expansion team out of state, and she did it in Austin, Texas in 2016 after moving to Austin like a month before. So she was new to Austin and knew the very first out of state expansion partner. She has grown that from, 0, right? I mean, because it didn't exist before. She has grown that to 0, and I have to look this up. She closed $2.7 million in gross commission income, Adelina and her team did. And they're closing first $1 million in gross commission income first quarter alone with no inventory in Austin. Austin has been insane. It's just been insane. She's the Texas region partner for Ben Kinney, so she's also involved with all of the Texas teams for place in Ben Kinney teams. So I've literally watched her go from selling, houses a year to running this empire, this huge empire. On top of that, Adelina is an active real estate investor. She's got a lovely, wonderful husband named John and 2 beautiful children, and so she's just living the big life. And I've watched this evolution. Her and Diane were the only 2 people that I could think of for this topic. So thanks for coming, Trix. Trixie is my nickname for her, and I'm Adelina.
Right on. And you remember me back when I was selling like $140,000 homes.
Yeah, Knoxville.
So we've really come a long way.
Diane Griffin, you know, extremely good friend, one of my best friends. And Diane, you've been a successful, I would call you in a good way, a serial entrepreneur, meaning everything you've focused on in your career, you know, since adulthood has been in forming a business. And that's why I thought of you immediately. I think it's cool that, and a lot of people may not know this, Diane, but you had a coffee chain, right? You know, the coffee shops, right? And that was in Grand Rapids, Michigan, right? Yep, in Grand Rapids, Michigan. You now are the chairman of the board for Keller Williams United Kingdom, for the entire United Kingdom region. And I've watched you just go and put a lot of sweat equity helping that launch and get off the ground. You're an investor in the Keller Williams Grand Rapids North Market Center. And you know, you've got a highly successful team that you've had for years, right? And you started out again as an individual real estate agent, but as we're going to talk about today, you treated it as a business pretty much, I would say, from the beginning. You're also involved in a business with me. We're both involved with Amplify, which is an incredible, a $5 network, Amplify, an incredible business that we're both involved with, which empowers women and helps them build tribes. So we can give that some shameless plugs a little later, Diane. You also have two beautiful daughters, and again, you kind of split your time between Belize, where you are now, with your awesome husband Matt in Grand Rapids. So welcome, ladies.
Thank you. It's exciting. Happy to be here.
Did I miss anything? Did I do okay on the intros?
I think you did great. It's like you know us.
I know. I did have to look at some notes for the numbers, but all right. So I want to start with this question, and Adelina, let's start with you. Why would a talented real estate salesperson, let's say they're even an individual salesperson, Adelina, why would they need to shift from a individual contributor salesperson mindset to a business owner mindset?
I think for me, the reason I did it was there was a natural ceiling that I kept hitting when I was like just a salesperson, right? In order to just break through that ceiling, right? I would have the same sales. I'd have 40 sales, 50 sales, but I wouldn't break through that ceiling because what I was missing wasn't more sales skill. It was more business skill. And it kind of what my life would look like. What I explain to my agents often is, like, imagine like driving a car, right? When you're an individual salesperson, you get in the car, you have no idea how much gas you really have in the car. You start driving, you really don't know how long it will take you to go from 0 to 60. You don't know like where you're going exactly, but you're getting in the car. And then you do it day after day after day after day. And you're getting pretty good at just flying by the seat of your pants. And that's where like my life looked like. I really loved serving my clients. I loved getting in the car every day and doing my thing. But I didn't have anything past that, right? And so I would hit that ceiling. As opposed to business owner mindset, what I found was I knew how much money it took to do my business. I knew that if I invested $1,000, I would get $2,000 out of it. I knew how many contacts I needed, right? So for me, yeah, it just came to breaking a ceiling. And it actually came from a little bit of pain because I had like 5 lost years where I felt like I spun like my wheels, right? And I just didn't move forward. So it was time to make a change. And what I was missing wasn't more sales skill set. It was more business owner skill sets.
And so when you say hit a ceiling, you mean an income ceiling. You wanted to make more money.
I wanted to make more money.
And you wanted more time too, right? So it's time in it.
Well, I mean, time goes with money, right? Like if you have time, if you have more money, you can spend on hiring somebody to get more time back.
Yeah. Diane, what about you?
Will you please restate the question so I answer the right thing?
Yeah. Why? Why is it important that someone who's a highly effective individual contributor, a highly effective salesperson, why is it important that they change to a business owner mindset? I want to establish why this is even important. But maybe people are watching Diane and they never want to go beyond being an individual agent with an assistant.
Well, I think that is the key. Like, what is your end goal? What are you trying to get to? Because you you like Adelina was saying, you have a capacity. So if the goal is to have big business or more opportunities or to create wealth for people in your world, or whatever your goal, your why is, if it can be achieved by doing the thing day in and day out and it fills you up and you're achieving your goals, then maybe that's where you need to be. But if you have different goals that require more leverage, then really the only way to do that is to switch. You have to believe and act like a business and make decisions not on a personal level. A lot of us, when we start building teams, we are so tight with the people we're connected with or in business with that we stop making good business decisions because we're making friend decisions, and breaking away from that and just really keeping your eye on the prize about, like, what do I want to do? Like earlier you said, me being a serial entrepreneur, which is true. I have a vision. I can see how it's going to happen. I have a talent of finding people to work with to make it happen, and I get out of the way and I go do the next one. But if I wasn't interested in being a business owner, that wouldn't work, right? I'm first and foremost a business owner, and then figure out the activities and the relationships needed to achieve the goal.
Yeah. And Diane, you've been in brokerage leadership. You're in now essentially, a national leadership position with UK. In your opinion, can all real estate agents be business owners? Is there a certain behavioral style that goes along with this? I mean, could if everybody watching wanted to start a big team, could they? Would they be wired to do that?
Could they? And are they wired? I think those are the two, they're two separate questions, right? I think because this isn't a physical capability position, I don't think we have many restrictions. So I think people can do it if they want to. And I think that's the question. Do people want to? Is there a style? I would say that entrepreneurs, business owners, they definitely are gritty, right? They need to take risks. They need to really understand numbers and need to understand standards and accountability, right? So if you have a person, if that's you, if you're like, yeah, I can do all of these things, then yeah, I think you can achieve what you want. But I wouldn't just look at how grit shows up in business. I think grit shows up in life. How do you look at challenges? What challenges do you put in front of you to, right? We talked about jumping out of planes. Like, well, why jump out of a plane, right? It's something to overcome. It's a challenge. It's gritty. It's not everybody's going to do it. And when you're looking at who achieves certain things, what teeny tiny percent of the population, I have that with my Ironman races, right? 0.1% of the population in the world even attempts it, and only 50% complete it. So so look for grit. I mean, so if your people are asking themselves, am I the person? Can I do all the things? You need to ask yourself, what else are you doing to demonstrate it within your life? Because I don't think it just shows up in business.
That's really good. That's super, super good. Adelina, obviously you have a large team and you're involved in regional leadership. So in your opinion, can if every agent, let's move to team. Let's say for all of our viewers right now, can every single one of our viewers, are they capable? Can they start a real estate team if they want to?
I think so. Like, I'm not a natural. I love what Diane said. There are very little restrictions, right? Now, there are skill sets you need to build. And going back to your last question, the more I thought about it, is the biggest reason you want to go from salesperson to business owner mindset is sustainability, predictability of income, safety, right? Like ensuring you have income long-term, because flying by the seat of your pants is fine until the market shifts, right? Until something happens. And that's what happened to me. Like, the market shifted and everything I was doing was great, except I wasn't running a business. So when everything shifted, I was like, oh crap, what do I do now? And so becoming a business owner and having a business owner mindset, it's a skill set that you build over time. And especially at Keller Williams, we have all these ways we could go about it and all the resources in the world to be able to make decisions when those things happen. So I think I started out pretty pretty much a normal person. Like my parents didn't have extra money to invest. And I was like, I didn't know the ways of the world. I didn't even know what a P&L really was, honestly. And now I feel like I've gotten my MBA in this. So I think anybody can do it if they want to do it. I think we all start at different points. So I had to learn a lot to get to where I was. Somebody else that, I have agents on my team who have an MBA, like they take to this like water, and that's awesome. And it doesn't matter where you are, you can do it from wherever you start. It's just your time might take longer, and that's okay.
Yeah, I believe anyone can do it if they want to. It's just a matter of assessing, Diane said it really well. Both of you said it well, but it's just a matter of assessing what their goals are. So if anyone here is watching and you're like, I've wanted to start a team. I wanted to start a team for a long time. 100%, if you can sell real estate successfully, I believe you have to use Diane's word, you have the grit and the hustle already that it already takes to be a business owner. Then it comes into, are you humble enough to be learning based? Because you are going to go back to kindergarten, and that's what we're going to talk about, the steps and what this takes. And as long as you really want it, you can do it. I believe everyone can do it. It might look different for different people.
And can you let go of your ego to get out of the way?
Well, I think that could be a whole topic, Diane. I think that is so much more important than anybody talks about.
It is.
And it gets harder, it gets harder with age. It gets a little harder to start over when you're 40, 50, 60, some of you, but you can do it. There's no limit.
It's getting easier. That's fascinating.
For me, it is too, Diane. It is. But I think that for people who have risen to the top of their careers, potentially, and this might be a second career, it might be tough to go back down to kindergarten. I don't know. We'll have to see what our viewers say.
Yeah, I'd be interested.
So I want to kind of have you guys map out the path, and then we're going to break it down, and then we're going to chunk it down. But either one of you, feel free to jump in. What is the path that agents should take from simply going from a salesperson to be a business owner?
Diane, do you
Adelina,
want?
I see your face.
All right.
You can go.
You go if you want. I'm happy to chime in.
I mean, I remember my path was a really simple path, not very exciting. Definitely for me, I was an individual agent. So I started as a young kid. And when I hear you guys talk about it's harder for the older you get, I also think it's hard to let go of ego when you're young, because you do think you know it all. And I remember thinking I was a hot shot for all my 30 deals or 40 deals. And I remember I thought I was doing, and that prevented me for many years from seeking guidance and mentorship. So anyway, individual agent. Then when I came to Keller Williams is when I identified, wow, I could do so much more. I was seeing people like Diane that were ahead of me that were doing more, and I wanted to be more like these people. So I built a team. Then I had the opportunity to be a team leader at Keller Williams. And now I have, what people would call a mega team. If I go back and think about the progression of what things impacted me at what times, I remember the very first thing concretely was going to Mega Camp in 2011. It was the first time in my life that I had been around big thinkers, business people, and I didn't see them as competition, and I didn't see it as, oh wow, I thought I was doing good and I'm not doing good enough. It wasn't that. It was more wow, I could really level up. I am doing pretty good, but man, how much better could I do? So, and for me, it wasn't about making more money. That was important, but making more money per hour. So that was important to me, and just creating a bigger life consciously. I remember the first thing after Mega Camp, I read Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. I don't know why I didn't read it before. I mean, I'm sure I knew about it, but I just never read it. It shifted my mindset around two things, lead generation and success through others, right? I always knew lead generation was important. I didn't like to do it, so I would kind of do it whenever I felt like it. And then the other thing was letting go of things. Diane talked about this, she's better at that. I was not good at that. I'm still not very good at it. I like to control things, all the minute details. It's a problem. And so, I just I remember doing that. And then probably the third thing via that helped the progression was finding a tribe of people who were looking to do the same thing as me. Not something that I didn't want to be. It was something that, like, I remember my peer groups back then were people like going on the same journey as I was. And like Via said, we're still friends 10 years later. So shared experiences with peers are really valuable. When you go through the slumps, because you will, on this learning journey, if you will, like having other people go on it with you is really, really valuable. So I think that's what it looked like for me. Tell me where you want me to fill in gaps anytime.
That's awesome. No, that's a great start. I just wanted the progression. Diane, what about you? What's the roadmap or your progression, going from an individual real estate agent to a business owner mindset?
Yeah. So when I got into real estate, it was the fourth business I had started. I entered into this at 38. And I've been in real estate and with Keller Williams for 16 years. So I did start as an individual agent. And like Adelina was saying, little kids. I was a single mom with an infant and a toddler. And I got into the business knowing that in order to do this, I needed to go in and go hard and go fast. One skill I do have is getting to the point and not getting too distracted by all the things that go on. And so what I understood is the way I would succeed in this business is to ask for business, to get business. So prospect, right? And I just hit it. I was shameless and did. And I ended up that first year, I was Rookie of the Year and number one in the office, and then number one in the city the second year. So I did really, really hit it, but I did it definitely with a business mindset out the gate. Like I needed to get enough money to bring somebody in. So within the first 3 months, I had my first assistant part-time. She was full-time within 6 months. And then at that same 6-month mark, we brought in a second full-time person. So within 6 months of the business, 2 full-time admin. And 1 year on the mark, I brought in my first buyer agent, right? And these were the lessons in letting go of ego, right? Oh, people call, they want me to help them buy a house. Well, no, they want the reputation to help them buy a house. It doesn't have to be me, but you have to get out of your own way. And I had to do it pretty fast in order to keep the momentum going and make it scalable. So
I want to go back because what you said was really, really good, Diane. So what I'm hearing you say is your first domino was lead generation.
Mm-hmm. Always.
Did that come naturally to you?
It did with the pressure that I had, right? I had enough money to live for 3 months. I knew from the time I had a sale to the time I would get paid was a month and a half. So I had very little time to find business. And I went to relationships, and that's, some people are comfortable with that. Some people run away from relationships and would rather have people they don't know. My whole theme was go small to get big. I only helped people buy and sell houses in a 3-mile radius. If you lived outside 3 miles, I referred you because I realized quickly that it was more efficient for me to get 25% referral than it was to drive 40 minutes to here or a half hour there. And then what happened is the concentration of my signs in my little pod, in the UK, we call it a patch. So my patch, people would then, it just did its own marketing. People would say, oh my gosh, I see your signs everywhere. And I thought, I know where you live, or you have to drive through to get to your work. And it happened very low cost, very high touch. I didn't have any money, so it could only be relationship. So anyway, I continue to build, but for me, it's always I'm always looking for the next thing. What is the next thing? And knowing what the next thing is, like I have to have a deadline, a goal, a date, something to drive at, to run at. I actually run at it. That's kind of my MO. And in order to run at something else, I needed to have the right people in place, which also helped me get out of the way. So that led to me buying a market center in Grand Rapids and becoming a MAPS coach and KWU faculty. Like I kept wanting these things. And then that led to the international piece. So,
Diane, I'm curious, that's really interesting. Thank you for sharing that. I'm curious, when you run to the next thing, do you always know what the end is going to look like? Or is it that you're just laser focused on the next goal, the next stair? Do you see the top of the stairwell, or are you focused on one stair at a time?
No, I always see the top of the stairwell. I need to bring people into my world that see each step to get us there. But I know where we're going. I can see it. I can describe it. I can feel it. I believe it more than anything. And bringing people in that help with those steps is how it works for me in building a business.
So far the commonalities, and then Trixie, I'm going to come to you. The commonalities I'm hearing are lead generation, get a bunch of business so that you have money and capital effectively to build. I'm hearing tribe, surround yourself with, I'd like to say, people that are alongside peers, and then people that you're aspirational to. Like Adelina, that's what you were describing on stage. You didn't feel competitive in a negative way. You felt aspirational, like I want that, right? And I'm hearing you have to have vision. You have to have some kind of a vision. You be able to compute in your head what a business could look like, what your business could look like. Adelina, anything to add to that? When we talk about next steps, you broke it down so well, when you really get in there, anything to add?
When you asked the question about lead generation was not something that I wanted to do, felt like doing, or liked. And I think that's kind of okay. Like, I just want to give people permission to feel those things. And it didn't come naturally to me. Like if I ever took any like career tests, like back in like high school or college, like salesperson was not on them. It was like engineer, architect, like anything but salesperson. So I did find things that I would be naturally better at, like open houses. But I didn't do prospecting, and I didn't really have a reason to. So that's where I'm going to next. It completely shifted. Once I started building a team, man, I had no problem prospecting. I had no problem doing anything. I remember we did like a 90 and 90, like 90 listings in 90 days. I would have never done that had I not had somebody else that I was working for. I always felt like I was working for my team. And so I think sometimes Diane was saying, you got to get out of your own way. Like, even though it didn't come naturally to me, once my why became big enough, once my purpose became big enough, like lead generation was like totally okay. Like lead generation to me today, I'll call anybody at any time. Like I have no problem with that. I'll show up anywhere, do anything. My why is so big now. Like my purpose is so big now. What I want to do with my life has developed over time. I used to think like flying was a big deal, but now I think like flying in first class is a big deal, right? Like, everything changes, and it's okay for it to be incremental.
Yeah, I mean, success is obviously not simultaneous; it's sequential. As we all know, and that's really what I want to break down the most today is actually what that sequence looks like. So, let's dive into some of this a little bit, because it's really interesting hearing both of your journeys. And I know this about you, Adelina. I know that you're actually not behaviorally necessarily the person that someone would tap to be the queen of lead gen, and yet you did it. Something in you were driven enough to get out of your own way to do it, right? And I think that's worth talking about. That's that grit Diane was talking about, right? As long as you want it bad enough, you can figure out a way. So the way you build a business is going to probably look different than the way Diane's built her businesses, right? You said it yourself.
I think that's really cool. And I think somebody asked the question, like, have we always had this level of confidence? And like, no, oh my God, no. Like I didn't grow up confident, anything but confident. So everybody's going to be a little bit different though, right? Like for me, what gives me confidence is being prepared, right? For me, what gives me confidence is knowing what I'm going towards, right? Those things give me confidence. I have confidence knowing who I'm serving every day. Like those things, like the things I care about give me confidence. So it doesn't have to be like you walk around and you're like this like confident person all day. I'm just confident in what I want. I'm confident in what it takes to get there. I'm confident in being prepared to do it every day. So I think that's a very fair question. Like if we come off confident, that's awesome, but we're just like normal people.
So one of the things that we've heard in the past is I grew up thinking practice makes perfect, right? I don't know if anybody was told that. And then when one of my daughters was taking gymnastics, the coach said, practice makes permanent. And I thought, oh, duh, right. we're not trying to be perfect, but the more you practice, the more confidence you build. It grows, it fuels each other as you become permanent in that, not perfect.
You know what I call that? I say it a lot, so our regulars are used to it, but I call it confidence through competence. The more competent we get in the field, the more confidence we have, which is why every team member I had, we went through a 15-day boot camp. And in that 15-day boot camp, you have to preview 50 homes in 15 days. And it was all broken down, downtown Seattle condos with concierges, condos with key box, all sorts of things, new construction, vacant homes, occupied homes. And the reason is that by that 50th home, you have the confidence level enough to take a buyer out.
Yeah.
You're comfortable in a home that's $1 million. You're comfortable in a home that's $200,000. You're comfortable going in, introducing yourself to the concierge of an urban condo and asking for the key box. So all of these things are just built up through failing forward and through doing them. And as long as you have the grit to go and fail forward in something, you can be a business owner.
Yes.
So Diane, what are some important skills? All the people watching us right now, what are the skills they can start learning up on and studying on to become business owners?
Honestly, I think just one of the skills that everybody needs is being a great listener. And I just feel like we do get focused in this business on sales or selling. And I really believe that the success comes through listening and really fully understanding what that is. So whether that's for a client or for the end goal for a business or level of profitability, I think that differentiates you in the marketplace, right? People, my business is 93% repeat and referral, right? Industry average is less than 25%. And it's because we come with questions. It's all questions until we can understand fully. And I think that translates through life, right? But it's, people don't think that it's important as a business owner because you should be telling people what to do or whatnot. No, like Gary Keller tells us, right? You get to the front, set the vision, get to the back and get to work. And that getting to work is being a good listener to stay in relationship with all the people.
So, I mean, really what I'm hearing though, that's a leadership soft skill. So really what I'm hearing with that is you're encouraging everybody to practice the skills that make them a better leader of people. Is that accurate?
Yeah, because if you're building a business, that's your job, is to be the leader, right? And it's a lot of, we've heard it from Gary for years, like great salespeople don't make great leaders and they actually make horrible managers. So in order to be able to move from being an individual to owning a business, you have to have management skills and you have to have leadership skills. You have to have all the skills. So like one of the things I learned early on is that when I knew what the next thing was I wanted to achieve, right? When I wanted to be an OP of a market center, that was my thing. I was like, yep, that's next on my list. I want to figure it out. I spent a tremendous amount of time with OPs, current OPs, new ones, longstanding ones, people who had failed. And I got in the way of what that meant, right? So I got in their way. I asked a lot of questions. I learned all the different perspectives, and that gave me the knowledge that I needed to move forward. And I just think that's, it's the way we prepare. Mike Brody always says, be ready for the tap on the shoulder. And if you get the tap on the shoulder, you have to have the skills ready to go, not like, oh, just a minute. I just need to prepare for the next year and then I'll be ready. No, you have to really know what that next thing is and keep getting in the way so that you absorb that information. So I think that those two things, the listening and the being an opportunist in a graceful way, make a big difference.
Adelina, I want to get to you, but I just want to say something because you glossed over that. I know you very well, Diane. That is huge. It has been huge in your life. And that is that you decide what you want next and you ferociously get into a relationship with anybody and everybody. And you are a good listener and you do ask a ton of questions and you're very purposeful about taking advantage of, in our case, we're all Keller Williams, right? Going to a Keller Williams event, you'll have 20 appointments scheduled with OPs if you want to be OP.
Oh, yeah.
Really good about that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Helps.
Adelina, what about you? What are the most important skills that you think people should learn if they want to kind of go from being a salesperson to a business owner?
For me, I think it comes down to two specific things. It's managing your money, and then it's managing people. And I know we don't use the word manage, but if I go back to managing money, probably where I went from like a regular salesperson to a business owner mindset was doing that P&L, that monthly P&L. I know it's as basic as it gets, and I'm always surprised how often we don't have P&L. But if you already have the P&L, like one step that I do further, we use a program called CTE. Everybody can get it. It's like cheap. But the number I'm paying attention to is not like my GCI. I'm not paying attention to all of that and volume and units like that. That's pretty to look at. But what I'm looking at is like my 15-day net cash flow. I'm looking at my 30-day net cash flow. So I want to know, like, am I good? Like, am I paying my bills? Am I going to have like the money that I think I'm going to have? But then I'm looking further than that. There's a 60-day net cash flow and 90-day net cash flow. And like, if you're like version 2.0 of that, you're going to be looking at like, okay, if my 60-day cash flow is higher than I think it should be, wow, this is what a great opportunity now to make an investment in an additional lead gen source or an additional hire, right? But if I look at the 60 or 90-day cash flow and it is lower than I need it to be, I've got to get into action. I've got to get my people into action. So using the tools that you have in front of you is like a difference maker between a salesperson and a business owner. And then I talked about people. I think the second thing for me is learning success through others. And we could unpack that all day long, but I think what it comes down to for me is the fastest way to get buy-in and trust and have retention with your people that you hire is to hire people that are already on the same path you are. And it sounds so simple, but people who align with your vision and your values. So if you can get the vision and the values right, first of all, you want to get clarity on your vision, clarity on your own values, hire to the vision and the values, everything else becomes much easier. Getting buy-in, having trust, having retention, all of those things as you're building those skills, it'll just be way easier when you have people on your team that are going in the same direction as you. So take care of your money, take care of your people.
Well, first of all, I love that. Because taking care of my money, so managing expenses is I'm weak at it. And so it doesn't come naturally to me. And in fact, it's funny you should say that about cash flow, Trixie. One of the things that COVID taught me last year is I was visiting it daily and calculate fallout rates. It was like a spigot. Like we were playing around a lot with, 15, 30, 60, 90-day cash flows. And did we need to turn up the fallout rate to account for bigger potential losses, or do we need to spigot that back down, right? That happened in the moment. That was like, it happened naturally and it happened organically throughout COVID because we had all done, we all knew our stuff, right? And so we knew that we had to do that. Second of all, I think what you said is really important. When you talk about finding people that are naturally already on the same path you are, the way I say it is where I'm their natural next step in their career. Mm-hmm. Like, am I the next natural, I hire a lot of team leaders, manager, they branch managers, right? Is this the next logical step for somebody, right? But you have to learn the skills to recruit and interview and hire those people. The skill you have to learn is how do you do that, right?
Right. On the topic of money, like this last pandemic, like while it was not ideal for anyone, was amazing because I had a handle on my money. I knew exactly what was happening at all times, right? Versus the last time like this happened, 2008, 2009, 2010, I was like, oh crap, I didn't know anything because I didn't know where all my money was even going or where it was coming from. And then on the topic of skill sets of people, I see some of the questions are like, well, how do you even start with that? I remember doing career visioning a lot, 18, 19 times. So this wasn't, once I knew this is how I was going to succeed in real estate is by managing my money and managing my people at a high level. I really like got into that. I went to any classes or on money. I went on any classes around leading people. And right now, if I wanted to do something else, investing is something that I'm really interested in now. Guess what I'm going to be doing? I'm going to be focusing on learning more about this specific thing. And I think that's the difference between just like riding, the salesperson roller coaster and being purposeful, like Diane has, to have so many sources of business.
Yeah. Diane, in all of your experience coaching and leading agents, teaching agents, what do you think is the hardest skill for most of them to learn?
The hardest skill is to do the one they want to do least. Right? I mean, in order to be successful, we have to do what we don't want to do. We have to do the things that aren't that sexy, that, are painful and take time and whatnot. And that's why I talked about grit at the beginning, because unless you're committed, I mean, the difference between somebody who's just doing what they need to for fun and the difference between the person who's doing what they need to live, it's a really different energy. So in order to build a business, I said earlier, you have to be a risk taker and you have to be gritty and you have to be willing to do the things that nobody else wants to do. And you have to show them that, but if you do this, it works. You can't just tell other people to do it. You actually have to do it and power through it. So I'd say that do what you have to run toward what you'd rather run away from.
That's really good. And, and that falls in the soft skill category. Adelina, what are some hard skills that you see your agents struggling with learning on this?
I would say it's maybe less agent wise, but more I see in terms of people. Okay, so we're on this call and everybody gets inspired and starts, doing things. And okay, we're going to start a team. Probably is, okay, before you do that, you got to have a plan. So like actually like preparing with some sort of plan. And then sometimes I see that people will hire people and then disengage. So disengagement is a higher, disengaging before.
I'm guilty of that.
So I see that like happen, which leads to like failed hires, right? Like that's all it leads to, right? So like disengagement or a lack of training because you didn't plan ahead. And then I think that's probably like what I see most is just if you want to succeed through people, like just you're now responsible for them, right? If I'm going to have a child, I am now responsible for that child. It's no different in a business. Your business has assets and their products and their people, and there's lots of things, and you're responsible for all of them. For me, in terms of myself personally, it wasn't that. It was something very different. It was having the care and candor conversations with people. That was very difficult for me. Still something I work on. Because when somebody says, if Diane says, I want to make $1 million, I'm going to believe Diane. And then I'm going to do whatever it takes to help Diane do that. Right. And I realized people are not products. You can't just tell them what to do and they do it. Right. Like there's emotions involved, and I'm not a highly emotional person. And so that was hard for me. So what I learned, like the best way for me with those care and candor conversations, going back to hire people that are on the same path, right? And then on top of that, I've learned to set better expectations, just the way you would with a client. You do the same thing with your first hire, with your second hire, your 100th hire. So it would just sound like me just being clear around, hey, in this one-on-one meeting today, we're going to go over your business plan and the gap in your activities. Does that sound good? Okay, great. Right. So it's no surprise that we're going to have a candor conversation. So that's probably like the hardest thing for me is actually having hard conversations as a leader.
That's a great answer. I think that these are such great answers, ladies. I coach, teach, and train a ton of agents, and I would agree with both of you. I would also add the concept of getting buy-in that both of you have touched on before. That's when I probably witnessed the most, where a new business owner who's maybe forming a team or has a team, wants to steamroll with a decision. I've decided this is the direction we're going in. without working to get the people that they're going to have to grow through bought into that concept, because I'm guilty. I am very guilty of that early on in my leadership. So now I probably work triple time on that one, right? Like, I mean, nothing. I'm more collaborative now than I've ever been in my life, because it's better that way, and so getting to that arc where, because it's scary to collaborate. It's scary to collaborate because if you're a business owner and you see a vision and you're attached to that vision, if you collaborate, you're opening the door for people to possibly change you on that, right? And so it can be scary to collaborate. That is a very hard thing to navigate and learn. And I think you only learn it through failing forward. So I just wanted to add that in. What do you wish you would have known sooner, Diane?
What do I wish I would have known sooner? Oh, lots of things, actually. I mean, I just partially, like, even though I had businesses, I just felt like somehow real estate would be different. So it felt like it took me a long time to, and when I look back, maybe it wasn't that long. I might be hard on myself, but to decide like what my brand would be and why my brand mattered, like what do we stand for, and now I struggle because I want people to understand that about their businesses, but I also don't want them to get derailed trying to figure it out before they get started. So I'm probably being a little hard, thinking, oh, I wish I would have known that out the gate, but I maybe did know because I had muddled through it. But I think one of the big things for me, especially in growing a team, is I wish I would have understood how important it was to go through a process in hiring and training. I had done a lot of hiring, so I thought I was really good at it. And it was a real eye-opener, like the amount of time, partially through Bold, right? When you add up, like, what does a bad hire cost? I think my highest bad hire was 1.3 million, which is a bad hire, so how many times do you do that? So I feel like until we feel that pain, we don't necessarily take the steps to do it right to begin with. So I definitely wish I would have learned and understood and executed more about what I learned and understood when it came to hiring. And on the opposite side, if it was not working, end it quickly. We all talk about it, but it's really a lot harder to do. We talked about this earlier on our OP bootcamp. It's not necessarily, sometimes it's hard to do because you feel like you have a relationship, you're going to hurt somebody's feelings, and there's that. But a lot of times it's because if you don't have the person in the role, then you get the job back. And it's terrifying. Like, I'm already over the top. How am I going to get that job back? So you make bad or slow equaling bad firing decisions because of emotion and because of regret of getting jobs back. So trying to figure that out makes a really big difference in how to run the business going forward.
Yeah, well said, well said. Adelina, what do you wish you would have known sooner?
I wish I would have asked for help and collaborated sooner. I was very autonomous for a long time. Get a lot more done a lot faster if you do it with other people. You make more money, yes. And then I think probably the second one is failing forward fast enough, right? Like, I have a perfectionist type of style. And boy, man, I wish I would have had enough mentors in my life back when I was in my 20s to just say, you know what, just do it. I remember being a team leader and my first week on the job, Mo Anderson said, you're going to do 40 appointments this month. And I was like, 40 what? But you know what? At the end of that month, I knew what to say to every recruit. I knew when to say it. I knew when to slow down, when to like turn around. You start doing it. So just go and do it, right? And what it would look like in my life previously was I would go to a class, and then I'd go to another class, and then another class, and I would never actually do what that class said to do. So like, take the class, go do something, and then take the class again and improve on what you already did, but just get into action. I was not fast enough to get into action. And now I get into action much faster.
Oh, I love that. That's so good. We're getting some questions. Adelina, how big is your team?
Here in Austin, I have around 20 people, full-time people. They're amazing. Most of them have been with me 3 to 5 years. I also have teams in San Antonio, and we just launched Houston, Midland, Odessa, Dallas, North and South Dallas. So it's a large team, but I'm directly involved in Austin, Texas, and I love those guys.
Yeah. And Diane, you've had, you're like me, our teams have been at different sizes. What does your team look like now?
Yeah. From starting as an individual agent to getting up to as many as 20 people on the team, including CEOs and CFOs and marketing and all the admin, like the whole bit. And that is what gave me the opportunity to go do the things, right? And then I'm super proud to announce, like the UK, just at Family Reunion, we were #1 in growth and #1 in GCI. So that's yay, right? So it's just like those years of turning it around and building a business. That part is really amazing. So coming back to Michigan, I've actually really pared down my team because I am not looking for the team and that leverage to provide other opportunity. So I have 20 passive incomes now through different businesses in 5 different countries. And now that is the main income. And now selling houses is maintaining the reputation and doing this, but I don't need to have a big team to enable me to go and do the next thing. So right now it's just me. I'm helping people buy and sell houses, which is really odd and really fun. I joke, Kendall and I joke, I'm like, turns out I'm pretty good at it. So it's so funny. It's like full circle. 16 years later, I'm back to doing what I was doing at day one. And honestly, I'm as excited as I was day one. And I think I am because I went to do other things and it's new and fresh again. And you come with a new level of energy and a knowledge base and the confidence, the question about confidence, right? I've sold 2,800 houses. That's a lot of times, right? So when I go to negotiate, I know what to do, right? So it just builds your confidence to do that. So yeah, so now it's me and Kendall.
I know, well, which is great. So we have a follow-up question, but I want to ask the question, but I'm going to start with a story. The question is, how much checking in are you doing with your team members? So Adelina, you can think about that. And Diane, I would ask you that question. Go back to maybe UK, maybe you can use UK. But my story is, when I was a newer leader, when I was in the throes of building my team, my team went from 9 million in volume to about 70 million in volume in 3 to 4 years. It's really, really quick. And I think we peaked out at about 17 people, so maybe 12 agents in there. And I remember, it's some trip, something or other, I was roommates with Diane. And I remember she had to take some calls. And on her calls, she was checking in with her people. And I just remember acting like I was working when in reality I was completely eavesdropping on the calls because she was so good. And I just remember those phone calls were like a model for me. Like, oh, that's what you do. You actually have accountability with your team. Like you call them weekly and you have set times, and that's what coaching sounds like. Because it was so early in my growth that I didn't really have that experience. And in me being able to eavesdrop and listen to Diane on those calls was kind of partly how I got to where I got, right? So with that said, Diane, when you have a big team, how often are you checking in with your key people?
Well, daily for the key people, and then just otherwise kind of depends, but weekly at least with each. But it's a super simple conversation. I think people move away from it because it seems like it might be uncomfortable or take too long. But for me, it's a structure. It's 4 questions. What is your goal? How are you doing to your goal? How do you feel about that? Is there anything I can do to help you achieve it? Right? So it's never so I was looking at your numbers and, well, you're certainly not performing. It's, what's your goal? How are you doing to it? They know. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that? Ooh, or I'm elated, whatever it is. And then you offer some help. And it's a really simple conversation. It doesn't take long. And I think along with that, one of the things I learned in building teams and businesses is that I can't make their goal for them. Right. I used to assign goals. You're going to do 2 million and you're going to do 10 million and 7. Who wants 6? Right. And then they weren't hitting their goals. And I was like, because I cared about the goals.
They weren't hitting your goals.
That's right. Because I cared more about their goals than they did, because they actually weren't their goals. So I learned that I needed to ask them what their goals were. And if it didn't meet my goal, to then add people so that the overall goal would be met. But I mean, it sounds so simple, but it was just like, duh, why aren't they hitting my my goals, right?
Adelina, how often do you check in with your people?
So with my director of operations, it's every day for 30 minutes. It's in the morning. It's at 9:30 in the morning. And at some point, like, this director of operations has been with us less than a year. So at one point, like, it's going to be probably twice a week, right? But I think the level of engagement is also determined by how long somebody has been with you as well, right? There will be a day where, like, I'm not needed 24/7 in every decision. With my top agents, it is once a week and it's every Monday. We have a director of productivity, and he meets with all of the other agents once a week. So it is structured very similar to what Diane said. Like, that is the model. You should write it down. And then with everybody in Texas, every Thursday morning at 8:30. So I'm in a state of my life where I'm very engaged, because this is my passion right now. This is what I want to do. I love my people, right? And who knows 5 years from now what it'll look like. But today, this is my one thing.
Yeah. Someone asked earlier about bookkeepers and accountants. Yes, we all have bookkeepers. We all have accountants. That's really, really important to have a bookkeeper to start with. If you are a successful real estate agent, you are not a good bookkeeper by definition. So you really, really need a bookkeeper. I've had a low cost virtual one for years, right? And I run 8 brokerages. We call them market centers in Keller Williams world. So I run 8 brokerages, mortgage, title, escrow on my own team. We have calls every single morning with our team leaders. Every morning from 8:30 to 8:45, we have structured calls. We do weekly Zooms, and I do weekly one-on-one coaching with every single team leader. And I touch point them. If there's 5 days in a week, 4 to 5 days a week, we are either talking and or texting and or in appointments together. It's very, very hands-on. I've learned the hard way that it has to be. It really does have to be. They are my everything. I will drop anything for them. I'm clear about my priorities. So as long as you're focused on your agents and your team, you're going to be okay. You're going to be a good leader. Ladies, is there anything you want to end with that you didn't get to say today that's important for you to have everybody hear about going from a salesperson to a business person? Diane, let's start with you.
I would just recommend that everybody really dig deep, right? What you're focused on or what you're deciding to do, you have to be willing to hit hell or high water, right? You can just shout it from the rooftops and run at it with grit. And I don't care if people are trying to pull you down or doubting you or they can all be naysayers. But if you believe in it big enough, hard enough, strong enough, it will happen. But it has to start with your beliefs. It just does. So decide what you want to do first, what you want.
I was
not
giving
what
you
anybody
else. 100%, 100%.
Thank you.
What about you?
I would say that this salesperson to business owner journey felt very overwhelming to me. And I think the way you would take overwhelm out is I would start by choosing one thing you're going to work on, maybe every month or maybe every quarter. Maybe in March, you finally get that LLC that you've been talking about. Maybe in April, maybe you hire somebody to do your books. Maybe in June, you decide, you know what? This year, before the end of the year, I'm going to hire an assistant and I'm going to start a list of everything that I don't get joy from or is below my hourly pay that I think I should receive, right? And so I think
that's to you too.
Yeah, I look at myself and it's like, from the day I remember 10 years ago, like having this clarity that I've got to go to business owner, this is 10 years later. It's okay for it to take time. It's okay for it to be sequential. And it's okay if it feels overwhelming, because on the other side of overwhelming is you're going to feel very empowered.
Mm-hmm. Love that. Well, ladies, thank you so much. Again, I know this is a little bit of a fuzzier topic, right? It's not like how to get 10 leads a day into your inbox. And I think it is so important for people to understand that this is, a sequential journey. I mean, looking at you guys, it would be intimidating to me too when I look at what you've accomplished, but I've been with you, during a large part of this journey. So I remember the sequences, I've gone through them with you. And that's really all it is. Some of you, don't worry if you can't see the top of the stairwell, take the next step. It's okay, actually, if you can't see the top yet. I wouldn't worry about that too much. There are some fundamentals you probably need to do deep down. You probably need to incorporate. You probably need an LLC. You probably need a bookkeeper. There's some fundamentals. You probably maybe you're a little weak in the management, learning a P&L and learning, all of that. So you can start there, right? You can start there. Thank you everybody for joining us. We will see you next Wednesday. Every Wednesday, by the way, at noon Pacific time, we are here with a highly hands-on tactical real estate conversation on our real estate webinars. Thank you all. Thank you, ladies.